Oops.
Yeah, well, I started recording.
O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truth, you are the only giver of light to all the worlds.
Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kali Janto Dita Ditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun rising in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Shri Krishna.
Paramanand Pataya Prem Vakshaksharayate Savada Savasivyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. O Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. By reading you, one attains transcendental bliss. For your syllables rain pure love of God upon the reader. You're always to be served by everyone, for you are an incarnation of Lord Krishna.
Madhika Bandhu Matsangin, Madguru Man Mahadana, Man Nishtaraka Madbhagya, Madananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you.
Asadu sadhu tadayini atini chochatakara hana muncha kadachinnam premna vitpantayoshvara. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart, and my voice will fill out.
Hare Krishna. Donc, est-ce que vous avez des souvenirs de la fois passée? Si vous avez des choses à partager ou des souvenirs, des points saillants, des réalisations, hein, tout est bienvenu.
I must say that since the last course, I did the homework, but it was tight because we just finished Govardhan on Wednesday, then just Thursday and Friday I went to Tours and busy, and yesterday we had a program in Tours. We came back at midnight, so it's like it was quite intense. It was very intense actually.
It's okay, no.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, would you like to say anything?
Well, I would like to share the one topic we discussed about how Krishna, how competition in the material world is unhealthy. But Prabhupada taught us a competition that we have this tendency, but use it in a way to purify our consciousness and purify our heart, which is book distribution, and how every quality we have, if we dovetail it in Krishna's service, it's simply a blessing.
Yes. Yeah, in other words, you are saying we can dovetail competition in the realm of Krishna consciousness. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, definitely. I'm just looking for something as I speak to you. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, we have actually Gauranga Darshan Prabhu. He's a great soul. He's in Chopati. He's quite a stalwart devotee. He's extremely Brahmanical. He's saying that, the Bhagavatam belongs to Bhagwan, obviously. Bhagavatam. It is the same root. It's called Dhatu, the verbal root, same. And he goes, this implies that Krishna alone, he gives the scriptures for his devotees. And he says others do not have rights to it. So especially amongst all the Shastra, Nigama, Kalpataloga, Ritam Phalam, this particular scriptures, Amal Puran, is specifically reserved for the devotees. And this is others from other schools and different school of thoughts, they may not have right to access to Srimad Bhagavatam. So, and it goes, this Srimad Bhagavatam, it falls of its own accord, because we know it is the ripened fruit on top of the Vedic tree, but it doesn't fall by force. It is, first of all, it is quite ripened, most ripened fruit, and even after falling from the highest position, it doesn't get damaged. It doesn't get unbroken. Because, and nor does it lose its sweetness, because we know the story, because parampara. We have seen Ahamiva Samivagre, Krishna, Brahma, Narad, Vyas, and then all the way to Srila Prabhupada, Madhvacharya, etc. So, and when it reaches the mouth, the beak, we could say, of Shukdev, it becomes sweeter. And what happened is, Shukdev, he has made an opening in the fruit itself with his beak, and the fruit becomes sweeter. So, and then it's easily swallowable because it's semi-solid, semi-liquid. So I sent you just today itself I was quite lucky enough, I was searching for it for days, but I forwarded to you different materials on the different times Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken. Did you have time to go through that? It's quite interesting. Huh?
I didn't have time, but I saw you sent us quite a lot of nectar, actually.
Yeah, in those days, 20 years ago, you know, my two Shastra gurus, Narayani Mataji and Gurijan, they would give us assignments. So I remember I had taken this assignment. They had asked me, please make a search on the chronology of the Bhagavatam. And I came up at that time with this. So first of all, the Kali Yuga started about, to be precise, February 18, 3102 before Christ, which is about the time when Lord Krishna left the planet. Actually, it is mentioned Kali Yuga was already there, but obviously it was kept at bay by the power of Lord Krishna. So about 30 years after that, after Kali Yuga had started, Shukdev, he spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. And it's given the date here, Bhadrapad Shukla Navami. So then we know Parikshit got it for 7 days. Shukdev left before the end. I don't know if you know that. Huh? Shukdev Goswami is going to leave the Bhagavatam. He's going to leave the scene. It's called Shukatal. I don't know if you have been there. Shukatal, exactly the spot where he spoke. And 12th canto, 5th chapter, Shukdev disappears. You know, he has given the whole Bhagavatam. He's totally detached, can you imagine? He just gets up and leaves. So very interesting, because Bhagavatam starts off with Sutta Goswami, not with Shukdev. The whole first canto, there's not a word of Shukdev Goswami. And at the end of the Bhagavatam, it ends with Sutta Goswami also. Yeah. Even though we say Shukdev is the main speaker, no doubt, but yet he had imparted considerably Sutta Goswami to take over. So we should not diminish in the least Sutta Goswami. So Maharaj Parikshit is going to give a synopsis before he dies, because what happened is, you have to understand, Shukdev had finished the talk. He had a few hours left or perhaps one day, I forgot the details, but he had some time left. So he spoke a summary, a synopsis to his mother. Who is his mother?
Uttara, the daughter of what was his name? He got killed in the
Abhimanyu.
Chakra.
Abhimanyu.
Abhimanyu, yeah, and Subhadra. No, not Subhadra.
Arjun.
Huh?
Arjun was the grandfather of Abhimanyu.
Yeah. So
Actually, the father of Abhimanyu. Sorry. But Parikshit is the grandson of Arjun. Yeah. So that you can access to that in Srimad Bhagavat Mahatmyam. You will find this story of Parikshit speaking Bhagavatam to his mother Uttara. Then about 200 years later, there's another discussion which is less known. Gokarna. I don't know if you know the story.
yeah.
It's also there in Srimad Bhagavatam Mahatmya. He spoke to his brother Dundukari, who had become a ghost. And he saved him from his ghostly condition by speaking out the Srimad Bhagavatam.
But the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Prabhu, I found it's so big. I wonder how you call it a summary and how you can recite it quickly. It's huge.
True. Yeah, but it's true. It's actually all these notes I got from Padma Puran Uttarakhand, chapter 6. Huh?
But I know that it's even in the introduction, Gopipalandara Prabhu says that that's how it was spoken to his mother, because she came at the last day or something and she wanted to hear, but it's quite huge actually.
It's quite big. It's not as big as Bhagavatam, it's pretty big, yeah. So then 30 years after that, Sanaka, sorry, not Somaka. Sanaka, one of the 4 Kumars, he spoke it to Narad. Narad is his smaller brother. And again, now we're coming to Sutta. Sutta is much after, it's at least 230 years, if I'm not mistaken. Sutta spoke it to the sages of Nimesharanya, we're going to discuss today. That is shortly after the demise of Maharaj Parikshit. So, in other words, the chronology would be like Sutta Goswami narrated the life of Maharaj Parikshit. Then the Mahabharata, which ends when the Pandavas are leaving home, when they found out that Lord Krishna had gone. Immediately they became totally detached and despondent, and they started north to walk towards the Himalayas, and they left their body one after the other. Maharaj Parikshit, Yudhishthira didn't rule long, he ruled only 36 years after the battle. Then Parikshit takes over the throne. We know the story. He gets cursed and renounced, and hears Srimad Bhagavatam. Then his son Janamejai, he performed the snake sacrifice. He wants to take revenge. Well, that's what it is. Okay. So now I found a quote in Bhagavatam itself, 178. Bhagavatam was compiled before the disappearance of King Parikshit and after the departure of Lord Krishna. Now, there's still another angle of vision coming from Nimbak Sampradaya. I give you the quote, 382, 383, 387 also. When the 4 Kumars, they addressed the Lord Shankarshan actually. He was in Yoga Nidra, and they propitiated him to awakening by singing different hymns. And then when he awoke himself, directly upon being asked by the 4 Kumaras, he narrated to them the Srimad Bhagavatam also. So that makes the Srimad Bhagavatam Shruti, because it's coming from God himself, Lord Shankarshan. And at that, yes, go ahead.
I think you told us also, and I checked, and you told us it is quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita also.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what else? So this is very interesting because there's another line coming from that discussion. I don't know if you're aware. Let me see what it is. Yeah. So in other words, Lord Shankarshan, the Shatu's son and the 4 Kumaras. That makes it Shruti, definitely. And what happened at that time? Who was there? There's a whole line starting from that discussion. If you look it up, I gave you the quote today. The great sage Sankhyayan, yes. Sankhyayan was a great transcendentalist. And he had heard it from the 4 Kumaras. Now, who came in the picture? Next. Maitreya is telling that point to Vidur. So Maitreya is telling, my guru, who is the guru of Maitreya? Maitreya is very senior, extremely senior, much more than Vidur or Uddhav. There's at least 2 generations gap in between. The guru of Maitreya is Parashar Muni. Who is Parashar Muni?
He was he the father of Vyasadeva?
Excellent, exactly.
With this fisher woman?
Yeah, exactly. So this is the line. Lord Shankarachan, 4 Kumaras, Sankhya Muni, then Parashar Muni, and when Parashar got it from Sankhya Muni, who was there also? Brihaspati.
Oh, Brihaspati.
Yeah. So then Parashar Muni, now he has received Bhagavatam, remember? And Pulatsya, another is a what do you call it, Saptarishi, yeah? He spoke the Bhagavatam. Pulatsya told Parashar, you should speak it. You don't keep it for yourself. And he spoke it to Maitreya. Maitreya is the disciple of Parashar Muni. So it's very interesting because Maitreya is instructing whom?
Vidur.
Yeah, and Vidur is the son of?
The son of Vyasadeva.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so you can see Parashar Muni.
His grandson then.
Yeah, in other words, there's a very intimate connection. Vidur is the son of Vyasadeva, and Maitreya is the disciple of Parashar Muni, who is the father of Vyasadeva. You see the link?
Family story.
Yeah, it's like that. And now in the 12th canto, you look it up, Nalanarayan Rishi, they explain Bhagavatam also to Narada, long before, way before. So you can see, and these are only my findings. Then Bhagavatam has been spoken quite a few times over the history of the universe. We have to keep in mind.
So Prabhu, when it's spoken, it's like some parts may change, or because I heard, I don't know, I think in a class by Gopi Paranara Prabhu that the whole Bhagavatam was always the same, and even when Vyasadeva spoke, or he wrote the Bhagavatam, he wrote the part where before, the whole thing. He wrote the whole thing where he's mentioned about where it's mentioned about him, and he just wrote the whole thing. So, is it always the same 18,000 verses spoken by all these people? I know on the heavenly planets you got many more, but
not necessarily. It's a very good point. Now, like for instance, Parikshit gave a summary only. And remember, Lord Krishna himself, he spoke the Chatushloki. So he gave only Chatushloki to Brahma.
It's like I heard also that, everything related to, all the pastimes related to Krishna, in one sense, they are Bhagavat. I heard that Prabhupada said one devotee asked if Jan's of Arc, was, yes. You heard something like this?
No, tell me.
Well, I don't have the exact quote, but I heard that, yes, it's part of Bhagavat or something like this, because she was a devotee of God. Or, this is not really...
But be careful, there's also a parallel scripture which is called Devi Bhagavat.
Hmm.
So it's getting complicated because many people, laymen, not ISKCON devotees, when they spoke of Bhagavatam, they say, oh yes, I know. But oftentimes they refer to not the Shukdev Goswami Bhagavatam, they refer to the Devi Bhagavat.
Hmm.
There's a Devi Bhagavat coming from Parvati, which is not the same. And people get mixed up with that.
Hmm.
So now I'm going to cover a different document I sent you. The chronological order of speakers of Srimad Bhagavatam. First one is Chatushloki, Lord Krishna to Brahma. Then Brahma to Narad, Narad to Vyas. And the one which is very famous is Vyasadeva to Shukdev. Okay. So Vyasadeva he spoke the 18,000 shlok to Shukdev.
Hmm.
And remember, at that time, Shukdev was still in the belly of Jabali. Jabali, she's the wife of Vyasadeva. Then Shukdev Goswami, he spoke Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. And I told you before, he told Sutta Goswami, please come up front. Because he knew this person is going to repeat later. Then Lord Shankaracharya and the four Kumars, I told you. So bear in mind that according to Padma Puran, Uttarakhand, there's about 230 years between Shunaka speaking, Shukdev, and Sutta Goswami. So you can see it's quite a while. Anyway,
There is an insect on your video camera.
is it? It's taking the nectar. Yeah, so this is this great story and it's great. Okay, so what I propose now, unless you have any questions, we can dive into the nectar. So this first chapter, it's very important. The sages are going to worship Sutta Goswami. I'll give you a very brief synopsis. You can also always access your overview in the book and manual. So the sages will worship Sutta Goswami. They will ask questions, and those 6 questions are fundamental because basically the whole spectrum of Bhagavatam is expanded from those 6 questions. Then there is a beautiful verse glorifying Harinam Prabhu, the holy names of the Lord, and devotees also. So there will be more, we'll find out more about questions on incarnations at the time also. And then at the end of the first chapter, it's all about Guru Tattva, how to transcend the modes and how to traverse the Kali Yuga ocean. So this is basically the first chapter. Okay. So let's get into it. Verse number 4. So who is speaking here? Do you have any idea?
Text number 4. This is Vyasadeva, no?
Yeah, very good. 4 and 5 is still yesterday. Starting from 6 is the sages, Shunaka Rishi. Okay, go ahead, Prabhu.
Nemishe nimishakshetre rishaya shunakadaya satram svargaya lokaya sahasra samamasata. Once in a holy place in the forest of Naimisharanya, great sages headed by the sage Shunaka assembled to perform a great 1,000-year sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord and his devotees.
Yeah, so this is very interesting verse. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he shed some light. Nemishe, yes. There's a whole, you know what's the meaning of Nemishe? Nemishe. He explained at length. Nemi means the rim of a wheel. On dirait en français la jante. He explained that by Om, the speaker here, Vyasadeva, indicates that the Bhagavatam is an expansion of Om. And Brahma, he created a wheel in his mind. And the rim of the wheel is Nemi. So it's through that wheel, actually, Nemi. and it fell off Shriyate, it fell off Nemisha. So there's lots of quotes, Vishwanath is quoting lots of quotes, Vayupuran here. This mental will created by me will be released, Brahma is speaking. The place where the rim comes off will be favorable for performing austerities. So it is mentioned this Nimisharanya, I've never been in my life, I'd like to go. This is the axe of the Brahmanda. This is the axe of the universe. Having said this, Brahma, and having created the will brilliant like the sun in his mind, and offering his respects to it, Brahma released that great deity, the will. The rejoicing Brahmanas, offering respects to the Lord of the universe, then journeyed to the place where the rim had fell off. This forest became known as Nemish. So it's a great place of worship. So what happened is, it's mentioned by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur here that originally when the sages of Nimisharanya gathered, what was their intention? You have seen from the coming verses. What was their intention?
They wanted to accomplish a great yagya to counteract the effects of Kali.
Exactly.
1,000 year yagya.
1,000 years. So they were very well intentioned. Srila Prabhupada in 114, he explains they had the good of humanity at heart, and they were totally engaged in performing a chain of sacrificial ceremonies. But Vishwanath explained that in the beginning, Shonaka and the others, there were 60,000, by the way. They were more like Sakam Karma Yogi. Yeah? So that is why it appears here. Svagaya Lokaya, you can see in 4. Svagaya Lokaya. So in other words, they were intent on attaining Svagalok. And obviously, they were doing the yagya for the sake of mankind, yes, but also for the sake of themselves attaining Svagalok. And why did they become inquisitive all of a sudden? Who came in the picture?
There was Romaharshan Sutta was there, no?
Actually, Romaharshan Sutta was beheaded before, but Romaharshan Sutta was the father of Sutta Goswami. That is why Sutta Goswami is called Ugra. First of all, Ugra Shrava means he has a terrible sense of hearing. His hearing is absolutely wrapped in attention. That is why he captured when Shukdev spoke, he captured 18,000 shlok in one go. So Ugra Shrava means his Shrava is Ugra, is absolutely indomitable. He has an tremendous power of hearing. Actually, in terms of hearing in the 9 angas of Bhakti, it comes up is the epitome in terms of hearing. So when Sutta Goswami got in the picture, then automatically there was a paradigm shift. The sages shifted from being Sakam Karma Yogi, interested in Svarga. Automatically they developed a small taste of Bhakti. And it will appear in the Bhagavatam much later, 1:18:12. They will tell at that time, we were engaged in this yagya, but we only got blackened by the smoke because it's quite uncertain. Remember, we are at the junction. Actually, we are still in the Sandhya of Kali Yuga. We are in the beginning of Kali Yuga. We are still within the Sandhya. But it was an uncertain enterprise, an uncertain state of affair. And now, at the end of the first canto, you will see they totally admit, yes, now we are drinking the nectar of Krishna, of Govinda. So, when they took up Bhakti, those sages, as they got to listen to Srimad Bhagavatam from Sutta Goswami, that performance of the yagya disappear in and of itself. You know, they just sat and listened basically. That will appear in 1:1:21. Knowing well that the age of Kali has already begun, we are assembled here in this holy place to hear at great length the transcendental message of the Lord, and in this way perform sacrifice for the Lord. So there was a major shift in their consciousness. So now, very interesting, this expression here in 4, Svagaya Lokaya. I don't know if you understand this expression. Vishwanath is shedding some light. Svagaya Lokaya. So we know Svaga, he breaks it down. Giyate means to sing, ga. Svaga, Svar. So Svagaya means who is praised in Svaga. And we know who is praised in Svaga, it's Krishna. So when we say Svagaya Lokaya, yesterday we're saying Svagaya Lokaya, it means going to the Vaikuntha of the Lord. In other words, if we perform a yagya in this place, Nimisha, which is very holy, we're going to go to the Vaikuntha of the Lord. And Animish, remember Sundar Prabhu, there was one devotee, Animisha?
Yeah.
Yeah, Animish, what's the meaning? Harinishta, Animish?
Sorry,
Animish. What's the meaning of Animish? Animisha, there was one devotee. He's not blinking. He never blinks his eyes. Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu, Jagannath never blinks their eyes. So, Animisha Kshatriya refers to Vishnu actually. And it says in 1:1:21, it says Kshetrismin Vaishnave. It's a place of Vishnu. This place of Nimisharanya is a place of Vishnu, definitely. So these sages, they performed sacrifice, and it's mentioned by Vishwanath, even they could have, it's possible to envisage that they were doing animal sacrifices, Agnishtom and all these things. But gradually, by the grace of Sutta Goswami, the whole thing changed. They were into Sakam Kama Yoga, and finally they became totally engrossed into Krishna Katha. Do you have any question on this verse? Otherwise, we carry on.
And what about this Lokaya? Because it's you would think it means for the good of the people. You know, Loka means people, world, but Prabhupada translates it that for the devotees who are always in touch with the Lord.
Yeah, as I said, there may be some slight variations between Vishwanath Chakravarti and Prabhupada, not definitely. Yeah? But Vishwanath tends to say that this is the place of the Lord. It indicates the Lord in Vaikunt. Obviously, this place is very holy. It was created by Lord Brahma. There's one story I read about Nimisharanya. The British, they had heard that this is the axe of the universe. So they let down an iron rope, because they were quite doubtful. It cannot be true. And they let it down for 1 mile upon 5. See? And they stopped because they couldn't touch it. So it looks like there's some truth to it. It's bottomless. Yeah, I read that about 19th century, the British stories, Nimisharanya. Okay, so unless you have any questions, let's get into 5. Would you like to read Harinishta Devidasi?
Yes. Tad ekadat tu munaya pratar huta hutagnaha satkritam sutam ashinam Prachur idam adara. Translation. One day after finishing their morning duties by burning a sacrificial fire and offering a seat of esteem to Srila Sutta Goswami, the great sages made inquiries with great respect about the following matters.
Yes. So we don't have to necessarily read all the Sanskrit of each and every verse, huh? But sometimes we will, because some verses are extremely powerful. So here it's very interesting in the purport. Srila Prabhupada uses impregnated. Huh? Did you notice? Srila Vyasadeva impregnated. This is quite an amazing. Usually you impregnate a lady to have children, but here impregnated. In other words, he impregnated the message onto his son, Shukadev Goswami. So this is parampara here, definitely. Let's look at your question, by the way. I know it's coming afterwards a little bit. Huh? Yeah, we'll come to that very shortly. Yeah, actually it appears here. It appears here. So what are the prerequisites of there's two personalities, the hearer and the listener. So let's discuss first what is the adhikar to sit on the Vyasasana. It doesn't only appear in 5. I assume that you have read ahead. It appears in all the upcoming verses, 5, 6, etc. Let's try to recap a little bit. What is the adhikar to sit on the Vyasasana?
So to be free from all vices.
Yes.
Prabhupada translated by following the 4 regs.
Yeah.
And be cognizant in all the Shastras, even in the Puranas and Mahabharata and everything.
Yeah, definitely. So we could ponder in terms of personal application. Are we on that level when we give the class? So you can see the lofty adhikar that Srila Prabhupada is putting forward. And be able also to deliver the message unbroken. We should not dilute or subtract or add up, obviously. And another point in 5 at the end, the last paragraph, did you notice? I would say on the part of the listener. Did you notice it's mentioned by Srila Prabhupada in what state of mind should we ask questions?
Submissive.
Son micro, il marche pas bien, là, je sais pas.
Oui, Alinishta, you should, there's something wrong with your mic. Your voice is very feeble. Huh? You should get yourself a mic. You should have, ideally, we should have an external mic, I think, because the mic of the computer is not sufficient. Unless you increase your volume.
How about now?
Yeah, much better. Okay, so in order to elicit the clear meaning, this mentioned here, we're not trying to challenge the devotee. Yeah? And if you are, what do you do if you are challenged, or let's say you don't know the answer as a speaker? What do you do? It may happen. What do you do, Harinishta? Someone asks you, she gives a lot of classes, Harinishta, because she teaches Bhakti Shastra in Vancouver. So what do? Let's say someone is asking a convoluted question and you get stuck. So?
Yeah, the mood should be humble, and if there is any senior devotee or others who can answer the question, just humbly ask them if they can answer, or not, then you tell the person you will go and find out, and you will come back to him.
Yeah, excellent. This is excellent. We should not We should admit our frailties and be humble. I'll get back to you, Prabhu. Thank you for that. I'll make a note of it. And definitely, it's humility. It's good. Huh? But we should not be challenging when we ask questions. That's a fact. Oral submission. It's quite obvious. No.
But Prabhupada even says about the speaker that he should know what he says. He should be conversant in all the systems of philosophy so that he can defeat them.
The Sat Darshan, definitely. The Sat Darshan, it appears perhaps in coming up verses. Yeah, you're right. I read it.
This is even higher.
No.
Very high qualification.
As I said, there's different types of speakers, obviously. You can see who is speaking here is Tuta Goswami. Can you imagine? Prabhupada. Gadadhar Pandit would give the class in front of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu would be seated in the class. Haridas Thakur. You can understand who is giving the class. Gadadhar Pandit. So again, we can only fly to our own heights. We are sparrow, they are eagles. But at the same time, should we relinquish this proposal if you are being asked to give the class? Oh no, Prabhu, I'm just a sparrow, No. My Rasmandala Prabhu, my mentor, used to say, never refuses to speak in public. It's always a boon. But we have to be always conversant to some extent. We should be able to speak spontaneously. And Prabhupada said, be able to speak spontaneously. You can prepare, but if need be, spontaneously also. Okay, so I would carry on if it's okay with you. 6.
Yes.
So the sages said, respected Sutta Goswami, you are completely free from all vice. You are all well versed in all scriptures famous for religious life and in the Puranas and the histories as well. For you have gone through them under proper guidance and have also explained them. Very interesting, akyatani here. See, akyatani means it's a verb. Means
explain.
To explain. And Srila Prabhupada explained in the purport, akyatani means kirtan. Just like now we're doing kirtan. I'm doing kirtan. So because, you're explaining to me, we explain to each other basically, and we're on the same page. So Shravan Kirtanam, but akyatani is part of kirtan. Very interesting. So again, same point, be freed from all vices. And not only Puran, but also Itihas. It appears in the verse. Itihas means, how many is Itihas in Vedic literature?
How many?
Itihas, yeah. Itihas means epic. Itihas means histories. Huh? There's only 2, Ramayana and Mahabharata. It's quite straightforward. Huh? So remember the Bhagavatam, the Mahabharata had been already written, but it was very fresh. Can you imagine? Like Mahabharata was very fresh, only 20, 30 years old at the time. So it must have been quite a talk in town, where that Mahabharata is available now on earth, We are just at the beginning of Kali Yuga. It's very interesting. This is the transition between the 2 ages. So we always try to visualize, what it could have been like. Okay, 7.
Being the eldest learned Vedantist, O Sutta Goswami, you are acquainted with the knowledge of Vyasadeva, who is the incarnation of Godhead. And you also know our sages who are fully versed in all kinds of physical and metaphysical knowledge.
Yes. So you can see how equipped they are, especially Sutta Goswami. Sutta Goswami, remember, his father had been beheaded by Lord Balaram, Actually, what happened is Rama Sutta was quite endowed with a long, long life. But since he died prematurely, this gap of time of life he didn't live, actually. He was passed on to his son. That is why he lived so long. Remember, he was part of the Shukdev Katha. He heard, and we are about 230 years after. He's still there. Because he had been endowed with a long life coming from his father, who had died prematurely. So now, it's mentioned here, I believe, or somewhere else, that only one who has properly grasped the transcendental knowledge from the right source by submissive hearing can properly explain the subject. So it goes without saying that it's a two-way traffic. Burijan Prabhu used to tell us repeatedly, as you study, you teach. You study, you teach. It's like, he used to tell us like two bottles. You empty one bottle into the other bottle. So I'm giving you, you're giving to someone else. And you yourself giving it to someone else, someone else, someone else. It's like that. You properly hear submissively and you pass it on. This is the flow of Bhagavatam. As soon as we retain the knowledge, it's mentioned in the fourth canto, it's like a cracked jar. You know, remember when the father of Prithu, remember this rascal, King Vena? And the sages had left the place. They were so much disgusted with him. Then it occurred to the sages, they were way down the forest in their hermitages. Actually, we are at fault because when the sages left, there was basically only he ruling, Vena. And they had become so much disgusted, they left the place. And then they realized we are totally at fault ourselves. And Prabhupada gives the example of the cracked jar. If you don't give your knowledge, it will slip through the crack. Then they went back. They went back to the kingdom, they confronted him, and then they killed him by uttering mantras. And then from his thighs were churned. Then Prithu and Archie came about. So we should never refrain from giving, especially once you have received. It's actually you're doing violence to someone. We say ahimsa, not killing animals, but figuratively, if you don't give, you are doing violence. Another point regarding Akhyatani, I don't know if you have discussed, if you have thought about that. Akhyatani in 6. If you explain to someone, means you are a living person. The person who's receiving is also living. So if you ask me, this is a very powerful argument to defeat Ridvikism. Because remember in the Ritvik, they say, well, Ritvik means an officiating priest. You are hiring a priest to conduct a sacrifice, you're marrying your son, you hire a priest. So you're doing something else for the sake of someone else. But if you ask me, this is a great argument to defeat Ritvikisms. Yeah. Why? Can you see the connection? Aditya, can you perhaps see? What is the philosophy of Ritvikisms in essence?
What I understand is they don't accept disciplic succession of the Prabhupada. Everybody should be the disciple of Srila Prabhupada.
Yes, so what does it imply? In plain and simple terms, what do that imply? Does it imply they're not accepting? Yes, go ahead.
Prabhupada cannot create pure devotees.
Yes. Okay. But what else? I don't know if you can follow Sundar Prabhu. There's
Right.
it's basically, in essence, they're saying we don't need physical guru. Which is totally ambiguous because there's no precedent, lineage in any shastra. You need a physical guru. So here it adds up to the fuel because look at here, Akyatani. You explain you are a living person, you explain to another living person. So it implies the notion of physical guru. So if you ask me, this verse defeats Ludwigisms. They are saying, no one is qualified, will be forever disciples of Prabhupada. No, my dear sir. Akyatani, you need to explain, you need to be explained by someone physical. You follow what?
But
Okay.
but they accept a physical guru to be a shiksha guru, but not diksha guru. Am I?
Yes, and also on top of that, they're saying, yes, but the guru, even though is your shiksha, he cannot take you back to Godhead. Only the acharya can do that, which is bogus. Prabhupada said, your disciples are your disciples. My disciples are my disciples. And he told his disciples, in due course of time, you will initiate also.
But Akyatani could mean just Shiksha also can explain. Why only Diksha can explain? Shiksha he can explain also.
Yes, but she's right when she says that the Ritvik tend to say that only Shiksha suffices. They don't necessarily accept Diksha they say Diksha is Prabhupada, bas.
But you could say, how can this, this word could be taken by them as, yeah, okay, explain, but it's explained by Shiksha Guru. Why are you saying that?
So I guess I'm falling short of the mark here. Yeah, it's a good point, Prabhu. Thank you.
I mean, I think she wanted to mean the same point too, no? Mataji.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my conclusion, but you're right, it's a bit flawed because it could be anyway, we need physical proximity when we hear the kata. Even Prabhupada says it's coming up soon. Hearing is not sufficient. Sorry, reading is not sufficient. Look at 6. To hear and explain them is more important than reading them. See, I'm not saying Prabhupada. In 62, to hear and explain is more important than reading them.
Yeah, because they said just by reading Prabhupada's books, that's enough. That's what they said.
So there's a shortcoming here. There's some discrepancy on the part of the Vikisms here. You could rub them in their face, rub it in their faces.
It might be a loss of time, I think.
Yeah, I'm just joking, but I mean, you can see their philosophy is not grounded. Now, I remember Jananivas Prabhu in Mayapur. I was 10 years in Mayapur. Lucky me. He used to say that if we voluntarily give up sense gratification, that itself will give us access to the message of Godhead. So not only as a speaker or as a hearer, that will be your adhikar. So I mean, I used to listen a lot to Jananivas Prabhu, so I must have wrote it down at that time, because all these notes are 20-year-old, I guess. So yes, so we discussed about the adhikar to sit on the Vyasasana, okay? Now let's discuss about the adhikar of the hearer. It's coming up, not only now, but for quite a few verses. Already in 112, I don't know if you remember, there were some points to be taken for the adhikar of the hearer.
Non-envious?
Yes. Nirmat Saranam Satam. I would say the desire to hear, is very much eager to hear, is agreeable to receive the message. And it says in 112, I don't know if you remember, it takes lots of pious deeds to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. You can see some people, they just cannot bear. No, I have to go. It's too slow motion for me. It takes pious deeds to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, to sit, to remain seated. Now, since we are discussing about the hearer, you can jump ahead a little bit. I assume you have read. Any other verses come to mind to ascertain, the adhikar of the hearer? You can see ahead of 7 if you want. You can look ahead, but you will see so many.
Vasudeva Kataruchi.
Yeah, true. That's very true.
Verses like this, no?
This is in second chapter, yeah, definitely. If we by serving the someone who has no vices, we develop an affinity, definitely. I would say 112, Bhadram Te. Bhadram Te is it's blessings. You receive blessings. So you are blessed by in other words, if you feel blessed by the audience, that is why there's nothing wrong when you give a class, especially if you are a little nervous or uneasy. You beseech the blessings. It puts a good mood, and you're going to attract. Devotees are very kind. They oh yes, of course, but we'll go ahead. We are all ears. So here the sages were anxious. They were anxious to hear. They know this Sutta Goswami is a disciple of Shukdev Goswami, you can imagine. So let's forget the fire sacrifice. We're getting blackened by the smoke. We are anxious to hear. So because they are anxious, they are giving blessing. So this is a good point. Bhadram Te. And 13 also, and there's more in 13. The audience should be very sincere and eager to hear.
One devotee explained recently, I heard, what is the etymology of sincere?
Yeah, Italian, you can tell Hare Nishta, she may not know. From Italy, sincere.
Okay, you heard it, huh?
Yeah, no, but you tell Hare Nishta Devidasi, she will be happy to hear.
Means it's coming from sincera, without, how you say,
wax.
Without wax, because they used in Italy, they used to sell this marble, and when they had cracks, they would put wax to hide the crack. So without wax means like genuine, nothing hiding, no hiding anything. Sincere.
Yeah, even in those days they were cheating already.
Yeah, sure.
Vipralipsa is always there. So
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so where are we? Let's see about from the side of Vishwanath, if I got some good stuff. It says Vidam. We are in 7-8 here. Vidam, it says Vidam means someone who knows, and Paravara Vida. It appears in 7. Paravara Vida means they're Brahman realized, basically. They know not only Brahman, but they know Saguna Brahman and Nirguna Brahman. So they are extremely advanced in Brahma Bhuta, basically. Paravara Vido. They are quite steeped in wisdom. And another point is, it appears perhaps in 8, Snigdasya. Snigdasya means you should have affection. Snigdasya means it's submissive, yes, but Vishwanath adds up the notion of affection. the Guru feel, in other words, if the Guru can feel if you love him, and then he feel compelled to impart the message, because he can feel the love. This disciple is very submissive, and he has love. He loves me. So that puts the Guru in a very good frame of mind to deliver the message, to impregnate the disciple with knowledge. So and that is why you can see there's a beautiful feeling, intimate feelings between Shonaka Rishi, and of course he's the spokesperson for the whole 60,000 sages. It's mentioned, I remember looking at Maharaj, he used to say, he gave a class on this long back. He was quoting Shastra. He used to say, when Sutta Goswami spoke, there was pin drop silence. It's mentioned in one Shastra. He was quoting the Shastra, I remember. Can you imagine if you gather 60,000 sages in Kali Yuga, even in Kali Yuga, there will be there will be commotion. But this is
plus you have to reach. Plus, your voice has to reach to the.
Yeah. So don't ask me how they do that. They have no mics, So that's another mind-boggling point. Thank you, Prabhu. But pin drop silence. Guru Maharaj was explaining that point long back. I remember I took some notes. So, and because the intimacy is so powerful between the two, they are full of affection for Sutta Goswami. They're submissive. Somya means very gentle, like this. We had a Mataji, Somya Mataji, I remember. And so you feel impelled within to try your best, and you are empowered basically. So this is what Vishwanath is saying basically here. Okay, so let's carry on. So like you said in 7, the Sat Darshan, as far as possible, we should be knowledgeable about the Sat Darshan. But do you know what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says about the Sat Darshan?
No.
It's quite heavy, yeah. In one song he says, when I see the proponents of the Sat Darshan, I backtrack and I go the other way. Yeah, because in the realm of pure devotional service, they stand nowhere. We have to remember the Sat Darshan, except for Vyasadeva, who is exposing Parinambad philosophy. All the others are pretty much Gnostic. So that's not a cup of tea, Sat Darshan. The people in India are very fond of Sat Darshan, Gautam, Patanjali, but it's a far cry from devotional service, except obviously for the one of Vedanta Sutra. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is quite repelled. I just turn around and go. So in the line of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, it stands nowhere. You don't see any Acharya for the last so many centuries quoting the Sat Darshan in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Okay, so just interrupt me. Feel free. We are quite a small number here, so it's there's no problem. So now, in regard to empowerment, because obviously, Bhagavatam is such a lofty literature by far. We have to be empowered, whether you are the speaker or the hearer. So there's in the Bhagavatam itself, 2.4.11, Shukdev, because second canto Shukdev starts speaking already. 2.4.11, Shukdev Goswami explain in the 4th chapter the empowerment of the Lord. That is why, I don't know if you noticed, very interesting. We're going to hear the 6th question of the sages, and you will see Sutta Goswami in the beginning of the 2nd chapter. Is he going to reply right away? What do you think? Is he going to reply right away? Someone asks you a question. This is common affair. Immediately you tend to reply. But a great advanced person, a devotee, he doesn't reply right away. What does he do? he prays. He prays and he glorifies his Guru. So Sutta Goswami, you will see in the beginning of second chapter, at least for 3-4 verses, very deep verses, he's going to glorify his Guru. Then only, very humbly, he asks for empowerment, basically. He asks for empowerment. So Shukadev makes the same point in 2.4.11. Because can you imagine, he has to recite the Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit for 8 days. So you better be empowered to do that. So even Shukadev Goswami, he's a Mahajan, okay, but he has this instinct, and it's a transcendental instinct to ask for shelter, to ask for empowerment. In other words, if he wants to be induced to speak by the Supreme Lord himself. So we should ask the blessing of devotees, the Lord, glorify, pray, and then only we reply. This is what I understand, basically. Okay. So let's move on, perhaps. Yes, 8.
And because you're submissive, your spiritual masters have endowed you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. Therefore, you can tell us that all that you have scientifically learned from them.
Yeah. So you can see, Somya, there was one that Mataji, remember Prabhu Sundar?
Yes.
Somya, she was called Somya, Prabhupada disciple.
She's not anymore?
I don't know. I used to see her in Vrindavan long time. She was into Gaudiya Math, but very soft and pure and simple. Yeah, it's a fitting name for her. Okay. So see, it appears again, because you are submissive, your gurus have endowed you with all the favors bestowed upon a gentle disciple. So
this is very personal, huh?
Yeah, extremely personal.
Not impersonal, huh?
No, they're very personal. You know, it's you can see when Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, he was expert at reciting Bhagavatam in 3 different meters. It's mentioned the birds would stop. You know, practically the whole atmosphere would become enwrapped in listening. Of course, it's Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. This is everyone. Bhagavatam will definitely absorb the whole scene, the whole atmosphere. Everything becomes subservient to Bhagavatam. There's nothing that can match Bhagavatam. So this is 8. So that is why, because Sutta Goswami is so qualified as a disciple, and he has been endowed with all the favors by his gurus. Not only Shukdev, but his father was a great soul. Okay, he got beheaded by Balaram, but he was also a great soul. Huh? Remember, even the sages, when Lord Balaram beheaded Umashan, the sages, they told Lord Balaram, well, what to do now? We had blessed him. Remember? We had blessed him. And they felt, and Lord Balaram felt somewhat, uneasy. He said, what should I do now? So what do you suggest? And then they told him, well, if you wish, you can do perhaps parikrama of holy places. That is why Lord Balaram, as you know, was not in Battle of Kurukshetra. He took off for a long, long time. And in the same way, Lord Nityananda took off for 20 years. I don't know, just as Lord Balaram, because he's Lord Balaram himself. When Arai Pandit gave that boy, Nityananda, he was so young, 12, to that sannyasi, there's some questions as to whom is this sannyasi. Some people is Lakshmipati Tirth. I mean, there's some, anyway, it doesn't matter so much, but he took off for 20 years. Nityananda took off for 20 years before meeting Mahaprabhu. When Nityananda met Mahaprabhu, he was 32. So in the same way, Lord Balaram he wandered the land of India for a long, long time.
So it means, Prabhu, that the sages, they had assembled before Kurukshetra already. So before even the birth of Parikshit Maharaj.
Yeah, you're right. Because their intent, their original intent was, as I discussed, quoting from Vishwanath Chakravarti, that was Swagalok. They were, of course, they were well-intentioned. Lokahasya, for the betterment of mankind. They wanted to benefit the world, but also, they were a bit fruitive. Let's go to Swagalok. So they were embarked for 1,000 years sacrifice. Lucky Sutta Goswami came in the picture and he embellished the whole scene and the whole motivation, basically. Okay, so let's see if I've got some stuff from, we are into 8 here. Okay. So 9 now. 9. Please, therefore, being blessed with many years, explain to us in an easily understandable way what you have ascertained to be the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. So what's interesting here is that in an easily understandable way, there is a difference between a conversant, learned devotee, and a pedagogue. Pedagogue means you are not only you may be shastrically learned, okay, but are you able to explain in an understandable way? Yeah. I don't know if you had met Sadhaputta Prabhu. And Sadhaputta Prabhu was, it's like he got a PhD in mathematics. It's certainly one of most, he's gone now. Extremely intelligent. One time in ISKCON, Spain, there was a Spanish scientist and devotees were cultivating him. And obviously he was on such a lofty level, devotees could not tackle his questions, So what they do, they flew in Sadhaputta Prabhu all the way from America. Because they knew he's a scientist, so they can speak on par, on equal terms. Sadhaputta flew in, the scientist was crying.
Was what?
He was crying, he was shedding tears. He was crying of gratitude. He said he was in tears. Because he had someone whom he could converse with, and he was totally convinced. He became a devotee. Because he got like, this is what I want to hear. In his own jargon, in his own scientific terms, he was crying. He was crying out of gratitude. He said, I'm blown away by this person. And Sadhaputta could explain to a 5-year-old person, or he could explain to a scientist.
I think Einstein said this, no?
Yeah.
You cannot, if you cannot explain something in simple words, it means you didn't understand it.
Exactly. And Buddhism used to tell us, don't speak what you don't understand. It's very true. Why should you venture? Like, I've got quotes and quotes of Vishwanath Chakravarti, but why should I repeat verbatim? There are many things that is beyond my head. So I just add up whatever feels is supportive to the focuses of learning that I have identified. But we have to admit certain things are beyond, not only it doesn't support my class, and number 2 is beyond me. We have to admit, well, it's beyond me. So we have to extract, not only just wholesomely, cut and paste and deliver to the audience. It will be overpowerful, overpowering. You follow? You have to adjust to the audience. You are only 2, and so we have to always. It's like giving the right amount of medicine, basically. So here in 9, Guru Tattva is there. Acharyopasanam. And again, it appears all the time the same point. Pumsam, Vinishchitam Pumsam Ekantataha, Shreya. They are concerned with the ultimate good of the people. So, yeah. So perhaps let's not forget the questions. In 9, there's something quite peculiar. I made a note of it myself. Do you agree with that? Spiritual well-being is automatically followed by material well-being. It's not easy to admit sometimes. What do you say, Alinishna? Spiritual well-being is automatically followed by material well-being.
Yeah, I mean, first we understand that we are the soul.
Yes.
And we have a body. So if spiritually we are healthy, we are in a good situation, materially Krishna takes care.
Yes. So I'm going to be the devil's advocate here. Many devotees will tell you, I don't know about Vancouver, but here in France even, they're struggling to just to meet the ends. You know, they're on welfare, they are they basically barely survive. On appelle ça végéter en français.
RSA.
Végéter, be careful, in the material sense. Ils végètent pas spirituellement, hein. Mais matériellement, ils végètent. Hein. C'est la survie de l'espèce, pratiquement. Donc, I mean, this sentence is a little, if you ask me. Hein?
Especially the word automatically, maybe.
Do you want to shed some light, Sundar?
No, I would say like the same thing like Mataji said, you know, Prabhupada, I mean, Krishna says Yogakshema Vahamyam.
Yeah.
So if, well, I mean, something like you could say like for Grihasthas, if they put Krishna in the center, then the relationship between themselves will be much more easy. So quite few examples like this. I would say in my personal life, I think we put the spiritual values first, and we think that, I don't know if it's just my karma, but that Krishna always took care of our needs. So I don't know, devotees who are on welfare, and maybe we should analyze also each case, you know, if he's doing the needful, first of all, the minimum, we have our at least to do our dharma, then we can say that, you know, whether Krishna is maintaining me or not. But if we don't do even the minimum or what is our dharma, we cannot say that, you know, look, Krishna, because when Krishna says he's maintaining you, I think it's underlying the condition is you do your dharma.
Yeah, true.
Huh?
If you protect dharma, dharma will protect you.
If you remain at home, you know, and you don't look for a job, or you just watch TV, or
true.
You know, you say that, you know, so I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I also have the experience, even though I don't work for 9 to 5 for some mundane company, but one way or the other, I always manage to keep it going. You know, it's I'm not like rolling in cash, no way, but you know, by Krishna's grace, we have a roof, we eat something, and we pay the bills. You know. So.
Even the welfare, it's coming from Krishna's mercy, if we.
Yeah, in one sense, yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's just catch me if you see I'm forgetting some sentences or questions here, because sometimes I don't want to go over. 10 is a very important verse. Prabhupada used to quote it a lot. You can read the Sanskrit, whoever wants to read it. This is pertinent.
One Mataji.
Prayenal Payusha Sabya Kalav Ashmin Yuge Janaha, Mandaha Sumanda Matayo, Manda Bhagyahi Upadrutaha. O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed.
Yeah, so does it sound familiar?
Yes.
Before we move into 10, which is a big topic, let's not forget 9. I should have brought it up. That is the first question. Don't forget that point. That is the very first question of the 6. By the way, in your manual, you may have noticed that page 13, I believe, the 6 questions will appear. So don't forget the 6 questions you may be asked for the exam also. That is 9 is the first question of the sages. And these questions are quite lofty because, as I said, they're going to, the ramifications of these questions basically cover the whole Bhagavatam. So this is the first one, 9. It will be answered. Sometimes they are crisply clear. The answers are crisply clear and quite easily identified. And this one will be 1 to 6. The answer. Savepum samparodar mu yatu bhakti adokshaje ayetukiya pratiyatha yatmas pasi. This is the answer of this question of 9. Okay, 1 to 6. So let's go back to 10 because it's such an important verse. So how do you understand 10, Rinishta? What are we learning here?
Well, this verse gives us an idea how human consciousness will be, how degraded human consciousness will be, and how it will go way down.
Yeah, especially we are right in the beginning, when they spoke that verse, this is just happening. This is like 10, 20 years Kali Yuga started, 30 years at most. So it's quite fresh. Even remember Maharaj Yudhishthira, remember in the 15th chapter of the first canto, when Arjun doesn't come back, remember? And Bhima and Maharaj Yudhishthira, they're wondering, what is he doing? It's very auspicious. They can see so many bad omens in the kingdom, That's even way before today. They were still around. Already Kali Yuga was there, but it was creeping in. Actually, it was kept at bay by Lord Krishna. How can he manifest during Lord Krishna's reign? There's no question. Even Maharaj Parikshit, as we know, is going to defeat Kali at the end of first canto. But now it's full swing. It's beginning at that time. They can already see. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's good. I have a question. When Lord Shri Krishna was here also, if we see the Mahabharata, the life of Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, and others, so these qualities were also present in a certain degree.
Yeah, because remember the Sandhya, the Sandhya, in other words, each age, there's a Sandhya starting before the very end of the age and moving into the next beginning of the next age. Right now we are in the Sandhya. See, the Sandhya of Kali Yuga is 36,000 years, so we are just 52 centuries into it. So we are in the Sandhya now. We still have some flavors from Dwapara Yuga coming. And in the same way, at the end of Dwapara Yuga, before the very end, there's already flavors of Kali Yuga coming in. just to prepare, So it's called Sandhya. Sandhya is it's quite a wide lasp of time, you follow? So definitely, we can easily testify to that. Even in the span of your own life, we are of the same generation, more or less. I mean, I have seen with my own eyes how things are degraded. Even at school, when I was a kid, at school was, we didn't fool around so much, perhaps chewing gum in the classroom, this kind of stuff. It was quite ruly. Now it's unruly. They killed sometimes in France. They have killed teachers. So it's totally out of question, it's totally out of hand. So 10 and 11 are key verses, according to. There is another book I would advise you to read if you have the time. When you read Bhagavatam, you can always support your reading with other books. There's a beautiful book written by Bhakti Thakur. It's called Bhagavad Arka Marichimala. What he has done, as we know, there's about 18,000 shlokas in the Bhagavatam. And Bhakti Thakur has extracted about 1,200 shlokas. And he has broken them down according to Dashamula, the Dashamula from Baladev Vidyabhushan. And it's quite a very powerful book. This is what he advises to read for those who cannot afford, who don't have the time to read Bhagavatam. So he has written that book, Bhagavad Arka Marichimala. It means the garland. Arka means the sun. Marichimala. Marichi means the garland. So it's the garland of sunlight shlokas of Bhagavatam. And he says that yes, 10 and 11 are. He categorized them under pratical vichar, means things which are unfavorable to bhakti, which is one of the Dashamula. So definitely those traits here of 10, they are unfavorable to bhakti. So now, why Alpayusha? Ayusha means duration of life, but Alpo Medasa. Alpo, Prabhupada makes a beautiful point. Why do we live less longer? Is it due to shortage of food?
No.
So what's the reason then?
It's due to overeating.
That's also a good point. Thank you. Yeah.
I read the estimate number of annual deaths attributed to obesity among US adults.
Yeah.
It's about 280,000 by year, almost 300,000 a year.
Yes. And I read America in the same line of thoughts. I read that America is number 1 when it comes to death rate. So 31. They die. They don't live long. The Americans. They rank number 31 in the world. So Prabhupada says it's due to irregular habits. And irregular habits means lower modes. If we are in a mode of goodness, we are regular. It's nothing to do with shortage of food. Though that may come, shortage of water may come actually in the coming years, the way things are going. And also because of engagements throughout the day, it creates anxiety. You ask anyone, even my wife, she's always complaining, I'm anxious, I'm always anxious, anxiety, I've got anxiety, stressed. That reduces the shortage of life. I mean the length of life. Because of being irregular and also wrong engagements throughout the day. Now next, what does sap the very vitality of the jiva. Very interesting. There's one point here which is remarkable. There's four things. We lose our vitality. You made one good one, Sundar Prabhu. Atyahara, you're right. We tend to overeat. Atyahara, prayasascha, and over sense gratification also. And another point, over dependence on someone else's mercy. We should not depend. We can depend a little bit, but not too much. If you over depend even on a devotee's mercy all the time, it's not proper. You know? So we should be independently thoughtful, Prabhupada says. And also because of artificial standards of living, computer all the time, computer, you know, telephone, computer. So that saps the very vitality of the jiva.
We are not even dependent on other living entity, on other humans. As you said, now we are dependent on machines.
Yeah.
Terrible. It's terrible.
I know. It's sometimes, you know, in my heart of heart, I wish that everything goes wrong. You know, like,
Me too.
oh, we're on the same page.
Me too. When you have teenagers who are addicted, you know, you would like the whole thing to blow out and them to come out of their room, you know, and
I wish
look at the sky, you know, look at the sky and be forced to do something, you know, to go and plow the land.
Sometimes I wonder, perhaps,
horrible.
if we run out of diesel and in the upcoming years or weeks or months, we don't even know. We're gonna have to. What do we have? We cannot even go to Intermarché. It's like 10 kilometers away.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to till the land. I want to learn. The other day, Mahadevi showed me how to what do you call it? To udder, how do you say, the udders, milk the cow.
Oh.
First time in my life I was doing it. There's one lady, Mahadevi, she's so expert at it. So I was looking at her, she said, okay, try it. So she showed me, and I was quite happy to try. We are so much behind. I mean, I am behind personally on many things.
But dependence on others is for the Shudras, no? Normally, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Brahmanas, they are not dependent on others, no?
Yeah.
Prabhupada says that normally almost every human being should be independent, no?
Exactly. We should not, like for instance, Chanakya Pandit says, you don't stay more than 3 days at someone else's place. That's very, very gross. Even if you're invited, you don't stay more than 3 days. It creates friction. You know, there's certain etiquette like this. You don't ask always the same devotee for something, you know. You feel indebted, you have to reciprocate with that devotee. Don't always depend, you know. There's some devotee you have noticed, they always over depend on the state, over depend on ISKCON, over depend on this one, that one. On the plea that person is generous, you tend to over depend. And poverty brings mediocrity, Prabhupada says. Too much poverty. So we have to always keep a minimum afloat. This is for our own sake, for our own conscience, you know, otherwise it's the open door for mediocrity, actually. It becomes so much dependent on this one, that one, this person. So, and now, even in terms of education, it's mentioned in 10, education, it's so much low. Like my son is 4 years ahead in maths, you know. When I see his work, I feel like crying practically. 322, 322 plus 24. Lui, il fait des chiffres en centaines de millions. Addition, division. I feel like totally despondent. What should I do with him? You know, it's slowly going further down.
especially they don't know to write now. You know, the kids, I don't know in Canada, but they say like this, they don't know to write because they write these messages now on their phones, and they write in a specific,
exactly,
abbreviated words. It's like,
yeah, because the attention span has reduced to nil. The attention span has extremely reduced, like anything.
Yeah.
They cannot. That is why they're watching always these very fast moving clips and videos, because otherwise they get bored. In 5 seconds they get bored.
But to speak of sitting for a Bhagavatam class, huh?
Yeah, this is, you know, it's not easy to bring up kids, grow up kids now. It rings a bell with Sri Sho. Remember Sri Sho Upanishad? Andam tama pravishanti yevidyamu pasate tatobuyeva titamoyeho vijayam rataha. Same point. Modern civilization very advanced, but because the stress is placed on material advancement, they neglect the whole spiritual path. And you can see the political leaders, they are just vain proposals, empty. They filter this. It's called the knowledge filtering, you know. Whatever is distilled on TV or on radio is very highly distilled, filtered. Empty pages, I mean, on and on, basically. We could go on the whole day. So now we're coming to, let's move on. Unless you have questions, you stop me. Huh? I mean, it's quite okay. Huh? So let's move on to, where are we? 11, I would say.
There are many varieties of scriptures, and in all of them, there are many prescribed duties which can be learned only after many years of study in their various divisions. Therefore, O sage, please select the essence of all the scriptures and explain it for the good of all living beings, that by such instruction their hearts may be fully satisfied.
Yes, so this is exactly what happened with Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. I don't know if you realized, Mahaprabhu had given them this. Remember, one of the order was you write Bhakti Shastra for the sake of mankind. So can you imagine they had to study the whole gamut of Vedic, the reservoir of Vedic literature, and they have to extract a little bit from Padma Puran, this Puran, Skanda Puran. They have to extract whatever is pertaining to Bhakti. That's a tour de force. It's totally beyond imagination what it takes. Even a very powerful computer, I don't know if it can do that. Buddhism used to say, what is left now of Shastra, Vedic Shastra, is about 1 lakh square, 100,000 au carré. But in the days of yore, it was much more. So can you imagine the task? They have to extract here and there, and to compile Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, then to compile the Sat Sandarbha. You know, Jiva Goswami, what he did is totally beyond imagination. If you go to Benares, there's a university just to study the books of Sutta Goswami, of Jiva Goswami. He has written as many as all the Puranas combined, 4 lakhs verses. And he has extracted. Can you imagine what kind of brain it takes? It means they are conversant with, they are Shatu Vedi. Shatu Vedi, they extract and they come up with Padeshamrit, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, you know, Sat Sandarbha. That's prodigious intelligence to do that. You know?
Yeah, because how would they do it? Because
there's no computer. There's no computer.
There was also no libraries, no, that time in Vrindavan. Vrindavan was not a city; it was a forest. So they had to.
Of course, they are manjaris, you may say. They're coming from the spiritual world, but still, that is why when you read Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, especially the Purva Vibhag, it's full of quotes. You know, it's not penned by Rupa Goswami. He has extracted those quotes from different Puranas, Upanishad, just to establish the claim that Krishna Bhakti is superior to the rest. Because in those days, in the 16th century, not everyone was Krishna conscious. So he had to establish that claim on the basis of Shruti, mostly he was quoting from Upanishad, to establish the fact that Krishna Bhakti is supreme. And that was, even in the 16th century, that was a tour de force also. And here, that's what it says. They're asking him, they're asking Sutta, yes, you please, select the essence. Can you imagine? In your mind, you are able to do that. As you speak, you can select the essence. Just imagine the prodigious intelligence, what it takes. And we extract it, and we prepare our class, I'm going to say that quote, that verse. It's all in written. There was no written there. It's all Shrutidhara. So Goswami had captured this 18,000 shlok in his by rote. By rote means par cœur. We are dealing with superhumans.
Yes.
Superhuman entities. Actually, this book is for superhuman. If you ask me, sometimes we wonder, we are just little microbes and just happening to walk by the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is what it is, huh?
And I wonder what he was explaining. I don't remember his name, but from Boaz, Canada.
Oh, oui, he's a PhD. You know him, Marienstein, most probably. It's not far from you. He's a PhD. He got his PhD at 22. Prema Radhikaraman.
Oh, Radhikaraman.
Yes, I'm quite close to them.
Yeah, so this is.
And he's explaining that, I mean, when I was studying a little bit the basis of Sanskrit, they explain that each verse there are so many meters, and I mean they have this rule that this first syllable has to be short, then the second has to be long, then the third has to be short, then the fourth has to be short, then the fifth has to be long, and the second line is different. Third line is another rule, the same rule as the first one, and they have to write and they have to write like this, following all these rules. It's like
Sanskrit
it's overhuman, superhuman.
But I remember I used to sometimes I took prasad with Gopi Prabhu in his place in Govardhan. He used to speak Sanskrit with his family, because there's two types of Sanskrit: popular Sanskrit. There's a radio in India, popular Sanskrit, and classical Sanskrit. But he used to speak Sanskrit while we were eating. So, with his wife and kid. Popular Sanskrit he used to speak. So now in 11, okay. So in 11 he's stressing Varnashram also. I don't know if you noticed. He's reminding us that Varnashram is the best shot for conducting human facilities.
Yes.
Okay. So now obviously that is why Prabhupada oftentimes says we are facing more difficulty in propagating. He says that in the Sri Yasho and also here, we are facing more difficulty on the plea that the leaders do not help us. The leaders should be helping us. It's a time of dire difficulty. Leaders are not helping us. 5-4-1-2. Yeah. Okay. You want to say anything?
So you asked the question, no, why Prabhupada seems to be putting down the Varnashram.
Oh yeah, thank you to remind me. Thank you for that. It's it's a very good point. Thank you to remind me. Yeah, it's in yes, in 11. Yeah. I was a bit shocked by this, but we can discuss about that. It seems to me, correct me if I'm wrong, is not so much pushing Varnashram here. Remember, it has been written in 62 also. So would you like to shed some light, anyone?
To ask Bhaktivedanta Purna Swami.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it the fact that it's kind of putting him aside in the second paragraph? The Varnashram Society was considered to be the best institution for lifting the human being to the spiritual platform. But due to Kali Yuga, it is not possible to execute the rules and regulations of this. So he's kind of saying, well, it's outmoded, outdated.
I think who was saying this, that in the beginning of when the Prabhupada started to preach,
Yes.
it's not centered, Prabhu, your screen is not centered.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. He would say that, like basically speaking, all devotees were Paramahamsas, and he saw after some time that his disciples were falling away, so he really encouraged Varnashram, no?
Yeah, this is very good.
But that was in 62, even before even it started.
Yeah.
So,
I would have exactly answered the same. Thank you, Prabhu. You follow Harinishna? He was kind of pushing, no need in the beginning, even in his kind, it reflects like this. And then sannyasi started following, 70, early 70s, 72, 73. And then he kind of changed his, there's a shift. Then at the end, he said, well, I could not complete the Varnashram. Please fill up the empty space. I gave the skeleton, you please, because he could see not everyone is on that level of following just Navanga Bhakti, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. When you look at this count today, I mean, we are about 1 lakh devotees initiated on earth. And how many people are chanting Hare Krishna on earth? Millions. So there's a great dichotomy between the hardcore devotees and who knows do they follow even properly in their private life? No one knows. And the rest of the devotees who are out there, singing, chanting a few rounds and very much dedicated to serving ISKCON. So those people should be rallied. Otherwise, if you always tell them initiation, and they're not ready for it, they feel bad. And on the contrary, if you push them and to be initiated and then a few years down the road, they cannot follow it properly, then they feel even worse. So it seems to me that there is a need either to implement Varnashram or to create another type of initiation, I don't know, for friends of Krishna. When you read the Gita, 1846, 47, by one's application of one's work, one can reach perfection, 1846. If you do your duty, Varnashram Dharma, Nishkam Karma Yoga, you can reach the supreme. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't say initiation there. 1846, 1847. No? So it seems to me that, okay, it's better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reactions. And Prabhupada is saying here that, Krishna is saying here that just by your work alone, you can attain perfection through your own work. So there's a whole portion of society, who are Krishna conscious to some extent, but they're not fit as yet to be initiated. Perhaps they will be never fit. So what do we do with them? This is a question. And if you don't give them some kind of recognition, they may fade away.
they'll go to other groups which give them recognitions, you know.
Exactly.
It's like you're part of AMA, you know, or some this or
Exactly.
that, you know.
So, you know, it seems to me, I mean, I'm not a GBC, of course, I'm nobody, but perhaps they should consider creating another type of initiation, you know.
I saw recently Devarshi Numapu, he did something like, you know, you heard about this?
No.
Some there was a name for it, you know, the people, they got a certificate, and not Prabhupada family, but it's not his speculation. I think it was introduced recently that if they chant 4 rounds or something, and they got some, I forgot the expression, the title they gave them, but they did this for a few devotees.
That's
Were
very
very
nice.
happy.
Of course, because they give them some kind of recognition, acknowledgement, and they feel secure. Or I'm part of the entity, and they can further dedicate themselves. And who knows, you know, the children are grown up, they're 50s, 60s, and then yes, now I'd like to commit further. Let me take the Brahmanical. When we're talking about 4 eggs and 16 rounds, basically it's a Brahmanical standard. Not everyone is a Brahmin.
You could even send, according to the Karmis, it's saintly platform, you know.
Yeah, it's a saintly
It's a
platform.
saint, you know.
It's a
In
saint.
Kali Yuga, it's a saint who follows the 4 eggs and chant the names of God, you know.
I think GBC should come up in due course of time. They should not delay, if you ask me, with some solution. Bon, it's been 2 hours, hein, ça fait 2 heures. C'est sûr qu'on va pas très vite, mais bon. We tend to go vertically into topic and topic-wise, thematically, you know. Anyway, we'll find our own marks soon enough. Would you like to say anything, Alinishta?
No, I'm good.
You're good? Okay. I think we covered all the key questions. Be quite conversant with the 6 questions, huh? Not only for your exam, but for your understanding of the Bhagavatam. And of course, it may be a little more difficult, but I don't know if it's given in the manual. Do you know what the answers are to those 6 questions? I gave you the first one, 119, it's answered in 1 to 6. But all the Buddhajan used to have us, you know, scrutinizingly unturning all the stones, and he would have us search for the answers. Yeah. So
the last one is easy. Last one is easy.
Yeah, true. Anyway, try your best. If you cannot come up with the answer, I will give you. So let's try to finish up for the next Wednesday, to finish up the chapter. There's 23 verses.
That will be my last class before, you know, I take 10 days.
Oh yeah, you told me.
Yeah, I'll be away. And this, you know, we enter these fairs, you know, we have to be there at a certain time, and we come out 7 p.m., you know.
It's not going to be easy for you too. Of course, it's impossible.
It's not possible, actually.
Yeah, of course.
Because, yeah.
Anyway, by the end of Kartik, I think it's November 8th, I will contact the Mauritius devotee. Perhaps, Alinishta, you can help me to enroll a few more. That'd be nice.
Krishna's mercy.
Krishna's mercy. Yeah, I know you're trying like anything. She tried like so many, like Sri Lata, she tried. Of course, she didn't pursue, but it's very nice on your part to help. Hare Krishna, thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
So I'll try to dig out more gems to send you, huh? Because I've got so much. But I don't want to overpour you also. Gradually, I will give you as we move through. Hare Krishna, thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Bol, Prabhu, and Mataji.